When we started on the designing of this 10,000-year clock project, the idea was that it would be monument scale, it would be something that you have to come and visit. The act of traveling there into a fairly remote site was where the conversation started about why do we care about long-term things, what long-term things matter to us. And these are the design principles that we started with that also have been an interesting set of design principles for our software projects and our information storage projects as well, that longevity, maintainability, transparency, evolvability, and scalability. Maintainability and transparency, just like an open source software project, really helps its length of and people being able to take a look at it and enter into the project. The evolvability, if we were going to design a clock that had a calendar system, it shouldn't have a calendar system that can't be changed by future generations. And scalability, so that we can make scale prototypes of it. That's what I've been working on. I was originally hired to build these first prototypes. This is the first one that we built. This is at the Science Museum in London now. This is about 8 feet tall. This is our first prototype that had kind of everything in it, dials, a power system, a way of calculating without gears. It uses a digital binary mechanical addition system so that it's digitally accurate but with mechanics. One of the types of design problems that we had to solve is this problem. You've probably seen this shape. It's a little racetrack out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean on some of your globes. This is the analemma. This is a picture of the sun taken at the same time of day through the course of a year. And if one of the things that we're trying to do with the clock is have it synchronized to the sun on any sunny day. So we focus some sunlight onto a piece of metal that expands and gives us that mechanical trigger. But if you have a pendulum ticking and you have the sun ticking, as it were, you can get this plus or minus 15-minute difference that you have to rectify. And normally you'd make a little two-dimensional cam that would do that, but since the Earth is slowing a second a century and it's wobbling on its axis about once every 26,000 years, that equation changes over the next 10,000 years, and that's that equation over 10,000 years, and the cam follower that reads it on the left, giving us the difference between solar time and absolute time. We've continued to make more prototypes. This is an ORI showing the human eye visible planets using the same calculation mechanism. This is a bell ringing device, a prototype for the final clock that rings a series of 10 bells in a different sequence each day for 10,000 years, so over 3.5 million combinations with a mechanical computer. We're now scaling up, so this is the first full-size component. The Geneva wheels that were in that bell ringing prototype that I showed you were about 10 inches across, and this one's about 8 feet across, and it weighs 1,000 pounds, and there'll be 30 of them in a vertical underground space under the clock. We purchased a mountain to put the clock in. This is in eastern Nevada. This is near the Great Basin National Park. The mountain is covered in bristlecone pines. As near as we know, it's the only privately held stand of bristlecones. These are the oldest living organisms in the world. They've been dated as far back as 5,000 years. I guess if you don't consider some of the bacteria systems potentially older, but single organisms anyway. The idea is to put the clock underground there. It's about a 12-hour drive from the Bay Area, and it's one of the darkest sky spots in the country. On the information side of our project, we have the Rosetta project. The thought was if we were going to make objects that can last this long, we're going to have to store information that lasts alongside with them so that you can understand them and that you can understand all the information from past cultures. We realized quickly that one of the first, if you're going to store any information, the first thing that you should do is store a language key. And so the Rosetta stone became a model where we could potentially etch many languages, not just 3, as the Rosetta stone did, to solve this kind of long tail problem of how many languages the world speaks and the information that they may store. We've been micro-etching a series of 10 components of linguistics onto a disk. This is a 2.8-inch disk. The front side is human eye readable with 8 scripts of the world, spiraling smaller, telling you how to read the rest of the disk. And on the back side of the disk are 13,500 pages of linguistic data covering over 2,500 languages, mostly Genesis translations, just because it's the only thing that we could find translated, as well as word lists and basic descriptions of languages. One of these was launched with the European Space Agency's Rosetta mission. It's about halfway to a comet and will be, I think, there in 2011, and will orbit with that comet around the sun in perpetuity. The last thing that I just wanted to end with, since I started with a story, is to end with a story, and I think it's a good convergence of what this conference is talking about, where art and culture and storytelling and myth all come together. And it's the story of the Ongi, which is a very small African diaspora tribe. They're down to 100 speakers. And they're in the Andaman Islands off of India and Thailand there. And when the tsunami came in 2004, these are a coastal village. They clearly are fishermen, sustenance fishermen. And everyone thought that they were going to be wiped out by the tsunami. All the modern cultures, as soon as they saw the water receding, ran out with their cell phone cameras and pointed it at the water, and many of those people were killed. And the Ongi had a long-lasting oral tradition from thousands of years of telling the story that when the waters recede, they naturalize themselves and they go up the other way as far back as they recede. And so they all saw that. They threw all their weapons out at the sea to control the bad spirits, and then they ran for the hills. And all of the Ongi survived because of this little bit of information that was handed down, not through technology, not through anything other than a continuation of a language and a culture. And so hopefully we can learn a little bit of something from them and realize that it's not always technology that saves us, but often it's our own culture. Thank you.